And welcome back as we continue through the book of Acts. Today we start chapter 7, and this is a beefy chapter, and we're going to try to break it down, and we're going to read a portion of scripture, pull a timeless truth, and be encouraged by it. So today we're going to read verses 1 through 16. Here we go. And the high priest said, "Are these things so?" And Stephen said, "Brothers and fathers, hear me. The God of glory appeared to our father Abraham when he was in Mesopotamia, before he lived in Haran, and said to him, 'Go out from your land and from your kindred, and go into the land that I will show you.' And he went out from the land of the Chaldeans and lived in Haran. And after his father died, God removed him from there into this land in which you are now living. Yet he gave him no inheritance in it, not even a foot's length, but promised to give it to him as a possession and to his offspring after him, though he had no child. And God spoke to this effect, that his offspring would be sojourners in a land belonging to others, who would enslave them and inflict them 400 years. But I will judge the nation that they serve, said God, and after they shall come out and worship me in this place. And he gave him the covenant of circumcision. And so Abraham became the father of Isaac and circumcised him on the 8th day. And Isaac became the father of Jacob, and Jacob of the 12 patriarchs. And the patriarchs, jealous of Joseph, sold him into Egypt, but God was with him and rescued him out of all his afflictions and gave him favor and wisdom before Pharaoh, king of Egypt, who made him ruler over Egypt and over all his household. Now there came a famine throughout all Egypt and Canaan, and great affliction, and our fathers could not find food. But when Jacob heard that there was grain in Egypt, he sent out our fathers on their first visit. And on the second visit, Joseph made himself known to his brothers, and Joseph's family became known to Pharaoh. And Joseph sent out and summoned Jacob his father and all his kindred, 75 persons in all. And Jacob went down into Egypt and died, he and our fathers. And they were carried back to Shechem and laid in the tomb that Abraham had bought for a sum of silver from the sons of Hamor and Shechem. Now, can you picture Stephen standing before the council of the religious elites, robes flowing, fingers pointing, voices rising with false accusations? Some in the crowd watched with skepticism. Some watched with scorn, convinced by the lies of the false testimonies. Yet, in the middle of all this chaos, Stephen stood calm. His face was described, as we talked about earlier, as the face of an angel. Given the chance to defend himself or even retaliate against those that were saying lies, he chose instead to speak about God. With courage and clarity, Stephen began not with his own story, but with God's, reminding his listeners of their shared history and the undeniable presence of God through it all. Whether Stephen had rehearsed his words or spoke spontaneously through the Spirit's leading, his focus was clear: to highlight the faithfulness of God. He began with Abraham, a childless old man to whom God promised a land and a nation. And even through slavery and hardship, God remained true to his word. Stephen's defense wasn't about vindicating himself. It was about pointing to a God who keeps his promises. So even when his people didn't recognize it in that moment, his peace in the face of persecution came from knowing that God's hand was always at work. So, church, today I want to encourage you, before you defend yourself, before you try to prove your case in whatever situation, that you would calm down and that you would respond and not react. And in your response, prayerfully consider pointing people to Jesus. Owning your own faults, maybe, right? And say, hey, God's working on me here and there, but point people to Jesus. God bless.